In a shocking turn of events, a high-end restaurant was left reeling after a waiter spilled a drink all over a wealthy patron. The woman, dripping in designer labels and dripping with attitude, was having none of it. She demanded the waiter be fired in the spot. But little did she know. The waiter was about to turn the tables in a major way. Before we dive into the gripping details of this story, don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with more exciting content. The chandelier light glittered across the grand dining hall of La Belle Maison, the city's most exclusive restaurant. Every table shimmered with crystal glasses and silver cutlery. Guests whispered about the elegance, the food, the money. And then, chaos. A waiter, no older than 20, rushed from the kitchen with a tray of champagne flutes. His hands trembled slightly. First day on the floor. He'd trained for weeks, but nerves got the better of him. He approached Mrs. Vivian Harcourt, a woman whose diamonds could buy the entire restaurant twice over. She turned to greet her companion just as the young man stepped forward. And the tray tilted. Golden bubbles cascaded over her white silk gown. Gasps swept the room. The sound of laughter from a nearby table turned the air sharp. "You," she shrieked, leaping to her feet. "Do you have any idea what you've done? This dress costs more than your yearly wage." The waiter stammered, "I'm so sorry, ma'am, I didn't mean." "Don't speak," she snapped. "You've ruined my evening. I want the manager, no, the owner. Someone fire this boy now." Heads turned. The room went silent. From the corner, a man in his 40s rose from a private table near the window. His presence commanded quiet, his calmness, respect. The manager rushed to his side, whispering something in panic. Mrs. Harcourt folded her arms, glaring at the trembling waiter. The man approached slowly, his eyes never leaving the boy. "Is this the young man who caused the accident?" he asked softly. "Yes," she said icily. "And if your restaurant values its reputation, you'll remove him immediately." For a long moment, the man said nothing. The boy hung his head. Then the man placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "No one will be fired tonight," he said. Mrs. Harcourt's eyes widened. "Excuse me?" The man's tone was calm but firm. "This young man doesn't just work here, he belongs here. He's learning every corner of this business before he takes it over one day." The waiter looked up in shock. The man smiled faintly. "He's my son." A hush fell so deep you could hear the music stop mid-note. Vivian's face drained of color. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. Around them, whispers rose, admiration, disbelief, awe. The father looked at his son with quiet pride. "Accidents happen," he said gently, "but character shows in how we handle them. And my son will learn that forgiveness can shine brighter than gold." Vivian's eyes filled with something unexpected, not anger, but shame. She lowered her gaze, then looked back at the boy with trembling lips. I didn't know," she whispered. The young waiter hesitated, then offered a small, forgiving smile. "That's okay, ma'am. You weren't supposed to." And just as she reached for her purse, perhaps to apologize, or to make amends, someone burst through the restaurant doors, shouting the man's name. The entire room turned. The man's expression changed instantly, from calm to concern. "Sir," the messenger said breathlessly, "it's your wife, something's happened." The chandelier flickered. The champagne glass slipped from the boy's hand and shattered at his feet. The chandeliers of La Belle Maison sparkled like stars, their light dancing across polished marble floors. Every seat was taken by the city's most powerful, politicians, heirs, and socialites draped in luxury. Among them sat Mrs. Vivian Harcourt, her diamonds flashing with every movement. She was used to perfection, and tonight, she expected nothing less. In the kitchen, Ethan, a young waiter barely out of college, took a deep breath. His first night on the job. His father had told him to start at the bottom, learn humility before inheritance. No one knew who he really was. Ethan balanced a tray of champagne flutes, nerves prickling. The music swelled as he approached Mrs. Harcourt's table. Then, a guest's chair shifted. Ethan stumbled. The tray tilted. Golden liquid cascaded down Vivian's shimmering white gown. Gasps echoed through the hall. The music faltered. Vivian shot up, fury igniting her face. "You clumsy boy. Do you have any idea what you've done?" she snapped. I'm so sorry, ma'am, don't you dare speak. This dress costs more than your entire salary." The restaurant froze. Every eye on them. "Get me the manager," Vivian demanded, voice slicing through the silence. "No, get me the owner. Someone needs to teach this child a lesson." The head waiter rushed away, pale and trembling. Ethan stood motionless, his hands shaking, eyes wet. He had trained for this job for weeks. He wanted to make his father proud, not cause a scene. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "Poor kid, she's going to have him fired." Vivian dabbed at her dress, glaring like a queen pronouncing judgment. Moments later, the manager returned, but he wasn't alone. A tall man in a charcoal suit walked beside him, calm and steady, his presence commanding instant respect. Mrs. Harcourt turned sharply. "You must be the owner." "Good. I insist that this boy be dismissed immediately." The man's gaze settled on Ethan. There was no anger in his eyes, only quiet understanding. After a long silence, he spoke, "No one will be fired tonight." Vivian blinked. "What did you say?" The man placed a gentle hand on Ethan's shoulder. "This young man is learning the business from the ground up. He's made a mistake, yes, but he's also learning responsibility." The room held its breath. Then, softly, he added, "He's my son." Vivian's expression shattered, disbelief, embarrassment, then shame. The whispers grew louder. "The owner's son?" She yelled at him like, "Unbelievable." Vivian's voice trembled. I didn't know." Ethan, still pale, managed a small smile. "It's all right, ma'am. You weren't supposed to." His father, Mr. Bennet, the owner, looked around the room and said, "Grace is a better teacher than punishment. Let's all remember that." The tension melted into applause, hesitant at first, then warm and genuine. Vivian lowered her head, eyes glistening. Just as peace returned to the room, the restaurant doors burst open. A man in uniform rushed in, breathless. "Mr. Bennet." "Sir, your wife, something's happened." The room fell silent again. Ethan's heart stopped. His father's face turned pale. "What do you mean?" he asked, voice breaking for the first time. She's been in an accident." The chandelier flickered. A glass slipped from Ethan's hand and shattered on the marble. And in that instant, all the wealth, pride, and applause disappeared, replaced by a silence heavy with fear. Ethan's pulse thundered in his ears. The glittering restaurant blurred. His father's hand trembled as he took the phone the messenger held out. "Is she alive?" Mr. Bennet whispered. "Yes, sir," the messenger said quickly, "but it's serious. They're taking her to St. Grace Hospital." Without another word, Mr. Bennet turned to Ethan. "We're leaving. Now." Vivian, still shaken, reached out. "Wait, let me help. My driver's outside, he can get you there faster." Mr. Bennet hesitated, then nodded gratefully. "Thank you." The three of them rushed out through the stunned crowd, a rich woman, a humbled waiter, and a father whose world had just shifted. Rain began to fall as they stepped outside, streaking the city lights like tears. The limousine door shut behind them, and the car sped through the darkened streets. Ethan stared out the window, fists clenched. "Dad, do you think She's strong, Mr. Bennet said softly. She'll be okay. For a long moment, only the sound of rain filled the car. Vivian watched Ethan in silence, the young man she had humiliated just minutes ago. His fear was raw, his love unhidden. I'm sorry, she said quietly. For how I spoke to you. For all of it. Ethan turned, surprised. You didn't know. People see what they expect. Vivian looked down. And I expected less. They arrived at St. Grace Hospital, where the sterile lights were too bright, and time seemed to slow. A nurse approached them. Mrs. Bennet is in surgery. It was a car accident, but she's stable for now. Mr. Bennet exhaled deeply, his hands trembling. Ethan placed a steadying hand on his father's shoulder. I should have been there, Mr. Bennet murmured. I was so busy teaching lessons. I almost forgot what really matters. Vivian sat across from them, silently observing. Something inside her shifted. The world of wealth and appearances suddenly felt small compared to the fragile beating of life. Hours passed. The hallway clock ticked louder with each second. Then a doctor appeared. Mr. Bennet? She's awake. You can see her now. They entered the room quietly. Mrs. Bennet, pale but conscious, smiled weakly when she saw them. Ethan, you're working here now, she whispered. Ethan smiled. Learning the ropes. Then her expression darkened slightly. There's something you need to know, before anyone else finds out. Mr. Bennet leaned closer. What is it, love? Her voice trembled. The accident, it wasn't random. Someone ran the light. But, it looked deliberate. The room froze. Later that night, as Ethan stood outside the hospital, the rain still falling, a black car idled across the street. Its headlights flickered once, and then it drove off. He turned, uneasy. Vivian had followed him outside. Ethan, she said carefully, you should know, people like your father have enemies. Powerful ones. He frowned. Are you saying someone wanted to hurt my mom? I'm saying, she replied softly, that not everything that glitters in this city is gold. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed, an unknown number. He answered. A distorted voice whispered, tell your father to stay out of the deal, or next time, it won't be an accident. The line went dead. Ethan stood frozen, the phone still in his hand. The storm raged harder now, thunder cracking overhead. Vivian's eyes widened. What did they say? He looked toward the hospital window where his parents' silhouettes glowed faintly in the light. Then he turned back, his jaw set. They threatened my family. Vivian stepped closer. What are you going to do? Ethan took a deep breath, the boyish uncertainty gone from his face. I'm done being the waiter, he said quietly. It's time I learn what it really means to be a Bennet. Lightning flashed, illuminating the determination in his eyes. Dawn crept through the hospital blinds, painting the walls gold. Ethan hadn't slept. He sat by his mother's bedside, holding her hand. Every beep of the monitor was a reminder that she was still with them. Mr. Bennet entered with 2 coffees. His face looked older somehow, tired, but resolute. The police think it was a hit and run, he said quietly. But you and I both know it wasn't. Ethan hesitated. Should he tell his father about the phone call? He decided to wait, just until he could figure out who was behind it. Outside, Vivian watched through the glass wall, guilt written across her face. She'd come to check on them, even though no one had asked her to. Something in that family's love stirred a part of her she hadn't felt in years. Later that day, a visitor arrived, Mr. Grant, Bennet's longtime business partner. He was charming, composed, and just a little too smooth. I came as soon as I heard, he said, embracing Mr. Bennet. Terrible news. You can count on me for anything. Ethan watched him closely. There was something cold behind that polished smile. When Grant left, Ethan followed him out into the corridor. "Mr. Grant," he called. "Did you know my mother's accident might not have been an accident?" Grant froze for half a second, then smiled. "You've been watching too many thrillers, son. Get some rest." But as he walked away, Ethan noticed him pulling out his phone, whispering something urgently into it. That evening, Vivian found Ethan in the hospital cafe. "You were right," she said. "About being careful. I overheard something." Ethan leaned forward. "What?" "One of Grant's assistants. He was on the phone talking about a contract buyout, and how your father's refusal was bad for business." Ethan's pulse quickened. "My father turned down a corporate takeover last month," he murmured. "He said it would cost too many people their jobs." Vivian nodded. "Then maybe that's what they meant by the deal." They exchanged a look, the kind that marks the beginning of an unlikely alliance. Ethan returned home that night to grab clothes for his mother, and there, on his father's desk, was a small flash drive labeled La Belle Maison Contracts. Curiosity warred with fear. He slid it into his laptop. Files appeared, purchase offers, hidden accounts, even messages linking Grant to an anonymous investor. Then a folder blinked open on its own. Video log, camera 12. The grainy footage showed the restaurant parking lot. Headlights flashed, a dark car accelerating, straight into Mrs. Bennett's vehicle. The driver's face wasn't clear, but Ethan froze when he saw a familiar ring glinting on the steering wheel. Grant's signet ring. The next morning, Ethan returned to the restaurant with Vivian. Grant was there, already speaking with reporters about supporting the Bennett family in this tragic time. Ethan stepped forward. "Save the sympathy. I saw the footage." Grant's smile faltered. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You will," Ethan said, holding up the flash drive. "Unless you want the police to." Grant's eyes darkened. "You think anyone will believe a boy pretending to be a waiter?" Vivian moved beside Ethan. "They'll believe me." Cameras turned. Grant froze. For the first time, his confidence cracked. By evening, the police had the footage. Grant was escorted out in silence. Ethan walked back into the restaurant, now empty, quiet, and filled with the scent of lemon and polish. His father joined him, eyes tired but proud. "You did what was right," Mr. Bennett said softly. "You protected this family." Ethan nodded. "I just wish it didn't feel so heavy." "That's what leadership is," his father replied. "Carrying the weight, and choosing grace over revenge." Outside, the rain had stopped. Light pooled through the windows like a promise of something new. Vivian watched from the doorway, tears in her eyes. "Maybe it's not too late for second chances," she whispered. Ethan smiled faintly. "It never is." But as he turned off the restaurant lights, his phone buzzed again. "Unknown number, nice work, Ethan. Now it's your turn to make a choice." He looked up, the city lights blinking back like warning beacons. Ethan stared at the glowing text on his phone. "Nice work, Ethan. Now it's your turn to make a choice." His thumb hovered over "call back," but the number was already disconnected. Vivian noticed his pale expression as they locked up the restaurant. "What is it?" "Someone knows what we did," he whispered. "And they're watching." She frowned. Grant might have been working for someone bigger. Ethan nodded slowly. "Then we need to find out who." That night, he copied the files from the flash drive and stored them in 3 places: his laptop, a cloud folder, and one hidden USB in the restaurant's wine cellar. Over the next few days, Ethan began digging into the company records. Every trail led to shell corporations and false names, all connecting back to a single signature, S. Vale. When he showed his father, Mr. Bennett went still. "I know that name," he said quietly. "Samuel Vale. He was my co-founder, 20 years ago, before he disappeared. Ethan frowned. Disappeared? He walked away after we refused to sell the company to foreign investors. I thought he moved on. But it looks like he never really left. Ethan leaned forward. Dad, what if he's the one behind Mom's accident? Mr. Bennett sighed. Then he's after more than revenge. He's after the company's soul. That evening, Ethan met Vivian in her penthouse to strategize. Her walls glowed with city light, but her eyes were heavy with regret. You've changed, she said. A few weeks ago, you were terrified of spilling a drink. Now you're trying to protect an empire. I didn't choose this, Ethan said. But I won't run from it either. Before they could continue, Vivian's phone buzzed. She answered, and froze. It's Vale, she mouthed. He wants to meet me. Ethan's heart raced. Why you? Because, she said, voice trembling, I used to work for him. Vivian met Vale in a dark corner of an old marina warehouse, the air thick with salt and secrets. He was older now, silver hair, cold smile, a cane that gleamed with a gold handle. I always admired your loyalty, Vivian, he said. You made things happen quietly. That's why I trusted you. And now, she asked. Now I need something from you again. Ethan Bennett. Bring him to me. Vivian's breath caught. Why? Vale's eyes hardened. Because the boy holds the key to his father's empire, and to everything I built before he stole it. When she didn't answer, he leaned closer. If you don't, others will pay the price. Vivian drove through the night, her hands shaking on the wheel. She stopped in front of the Bennett house and saw Ethan waiting outside. You met him, he said quietly. Didn't you? Tears filled her eyes. He wants you, Ethan. He blames your father for everything he lost. He said he'd hurt your family if I didn't. Ethan took her hands. You don't have to do this for him. You can help us stop him. Vivian hesitated, then nodded. Then let's end this, together. They began planning their next move, expose Vale's network, retrieve the original partnership documents, and reveal his crimes to the world. But neither noticed the black sedan parked across the street, watching. The next morning, Ethan received a text from his mother's hospital room. Come alone. Important. He rushed there immediately. When he entered, the room was empty, bed unmade, curtains swaying. Mom, he called. Then his phone buzzed again. You shouldn't have looked deeper. A photo appeared, his mother, sitting in a car, blindfolded. Before panic could take hold, another message arrived. Bring the flash drive tonight. Pier 17. Midnight. No police. Ethan's hands shook, but his eyes hardened. He whispered to himself, you took the wrong person. Outside, thunder rolled over the city, the sound of a storm returning. Midnight. The rain had stopped, but the fog clung to the water like breath. The air was sharp, quiet, too quiet. Ethan stepped onto Pier 17, clutching the flash drive in his fist. His heart pounded in rhythm with the soft lap of the waves. A single car waited at the far end. The headlights flickered once, a silent signal. He walked closer, each footstep echoing like a heartbeat. Then a familiar voice called from the shadows. Right on time, Ethan. Samuel Vale stepped into the light, older, colder, his cane tapping the wood like a metronome of menace. Where is she? Ethan demanded. Vale smiled thinly. Safe, for now. You have something that belongs to me. He held out a hand for the flash drive. Ethan didn't move. Why? What's on it that's worth hurting my mother for? Vale's jaw tightened. Everything your father stole from me, every deal, every design, every idea that built La Belle Maison. He left me with nothing. Ethan's voice softened. You built it together. You could have come back, made peace. Vale's eyes flashed. Peace is for men who've already won. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the truth. Vale wasn't here for justice. He was here for revenge. A car door opened behind them. Mr. Bennet stepped out slowly, raincoat billowing in the wind. Samuel, he said quietly, it's over. Vale sneered. You finally came out of your tower. Tell him, then. Tell your son the truth about his father's empire. Ethan turned, confused. Dad? Mr. Bennet hesitated, pain in his eyes. It's true. Years ago, Samuel and I started this dream together. But when I learned our investors were laundering money, I walked away. He didn't. I tried to protect the restaurant, and you, from that corruption. Vale slammed his cane on the pier. You stole it from me. Mr. Bennet shook his head. I saved it from you. Vale pulled a pistol from his coat, small, sleek, gleaming under the pier lights. Give me the drive, Ethan. Or your mother doesn't make it home. Ethan's mind raced. He glanced at his father, calm, unwavering, then back at Vale, whose hands trembled not from age but from obsession. He took a step forward. If I give this to you, you'll destroy everything. But if I don't... Vale's voice cracked. You don't know what I've lost. Ethan looked at him, really looked. Maybe I do. Because I almost lost my family too. He reached out, not with the drive, but with his hand. It doesn't have to end like this. For a moment, the storm inside Vale's eyes flickered, rage giving way to something like sorrow. A sudden shout broke the silence, Vivian's voice. Ethan! Behind you! A second figure, one of Vale's men, lunged from the shadows. A struggle erupted. The gun fired. Vale staggered backward, the shock on his face mixing with regret. He fell against the railing, the pistol slipping from his hand, then dropped into the dark water below. Ethan caught his arm, gripping tightly. Don't let go. Vale's eyes met his, filled with tears. You're your father's son. His hand slipped free. He disappeared beneath the waves. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the spot where Vale had been, the storm's echo fading into silence. Days later, the sun rose over La Belle Maison again. The restaurant had reopened, not just as a place of luxury, but of legacy. Mrs. Bennet recovered slowly, her hand resting in her husband's as light streamed through the windows. Vivian watched from the bar, no longer the woman who measured worth by diamonds, but by grace. Ethan stood by the window, looking out at the city he once feared. His father joined him, proud. You've done more than save this place, Mr. Bennet said softly. You've given it a soul. Ethan smiled faintly. I just wanted it to be honest. Outside, the last of the storm clouds drifted away. In the quiet reflection of the restaurant's glass, Ethan could see them all, his family, his future, and the light that came after.